what that shape needs to be. We don't need to worry about any markings between here and here. So this area, we'll leave it blank. Where we are going to mark is we're going to mark at this underarm seam location. So I'm going to put kind of trace around the bottom of that plate. Just has a reference point. That's not actually where the sleeve is going to go. But if I ever have to put this up, because I've got some questions on fit, if I've traced around that plate a little bit, it'll be very easy for me to get it back on the form. At where the side seam hits that plate, I'm going to put a mark. So it's almost like a T, but the top of the T is curved with the plate. Okay. At the bottom of the waist, I'm going to be putting kind of an upside down T, saying, there's my waistline, here's my side seam intersection. Okay. Now, if this were going to be a skin-tight shirt, if this were skin-tight, what I would be doing is I would be connecting this line to this one. That would be skin-tight. We don't want this to be skin-tight. We need to be able to have her move her arms and have a range of motion and to be able to breathe. So we're going to be adding some ease at this underarm intersection. Okay, so we're not going to use this mark that I just put in. That's just going to be reference for how to put it back on the form. We're going to be adding ease and making her bust line bigger so that she can breathe. Feel your diaphragm when you breathe. Put your hands on your ribs. Breathe. Do you feel that expansion happening? We need to give her room for that expansion so she can breathe and also move her arms. So on a basic sleeve bodice, write this down, on a basic sleeve bodice in the front, we are going to add a 1/2 inch ease at the bust line at the side seam, 1/2 inch. It's different in the back, and it's different for garments that don't have sleeves. So maybe you're going to make a chart a little bit later once you know more information. So we're going to be adding a 1/2 inch. How do we add? What direction would we go to add? Towards her back. If I went towards the center, it would take away measurement. I want to add measurement. So, do I have an armhole pin? Did you guys put dropped armhole pins?
Yes.
Was it 5 5/8 of an inch or something away from the shoulder tip? So this dropped armhole pin, this is going to be the location where our armhole is going to go to. Okay? Have you ever worn something where the armhole was too high and tight, and all day long you're worried about sweating, and it's uncomfortable and you can't raise your arms? Okay? This armhole plate would make an armhole that's like way up in your armpit, and it's totally uncomfortable. So we're going to use this lowered pin as a more comfortable location to put a sleeve in. Okay? So again, this top one is just reference if we ever need to put it back on. Where I'm really caring about is this dropped armhole pin. That's the level that we're going to be putting our armhole. It's 5 and I think it's 5 5/8. There's a chart in the book.
5 5/8. Okay, got
from
it.
this tip. And they're giving you a measurement from the shoulder tip down as opposed to from the plate, because every single dress form manufacturer has different size plates. But if we go from the shoulder tip, it'll give a nice armhole depth. Okay? So I've marked my dropped armhole pin, and at this location, I'm going to measure. So here's my side seam. So here's my pin head level, here's my side seam. I'm going to measure over from that a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to kind of square a line around my ruler. See that? Squared a line around my ruler. So this is my 1/2 inch ease right in here. Okay. 1/2 inch ease. And again, it's bigger than her bust line. Now this side seam is now going to connect from this 1/2 inch mark that I just drew to this waist mark. And it's going to be a straight line, so I don't need to do anything on the form. I've got the end point here and I've got the end point here marked. when it's flat on the table, I can connect those dots. The book tells you to like take a soft pencil and rub the side seam here. There's really no point because it's just a straight line and we're not even using this side seam anyway, we're adding to it. So just mark here, we're done. Okay? If we've got extra winging fabric here, now that we've got some marks, I can trim away to within about an inch or more if you're nervous. Okay, just to get rid of some of the excess stuff.
So you went back with that half inch, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so I'm adding 2. If this bust arc was 9 inches, I've now made it 9.5. All right, so now we're going to be dealing with the waistline and this cone of fabric that's left over. So our goal here is for this bodice to sew evenly to the skirt. Okay? So we want to make sure that our dart location on this side is the same as the skirt. We want to make sure that the dart location on this side is the same as the skirt. What did we put on the skirt right here? At this, between the dart and the side seam?
Another dot.
We put a second dart, but between the second dart and the side seam we put a pinch of these. So if we want this to sew to this perfectly, we need to do the same thing to both, right? So if we have a pinch of these here, we need to put a pinch of these in the same spot here. The same amount, the same size, the same location. So do you remember where we put it? We put it about here. So I'm going to put a pinch of these about there. Same size. So 1/8 of an inch on the fold. Okay, at the waistline. Not up here, not in here, at the waistline.
That one's not on the princess seam, it's like
No,
between, right?
it's between the princess seam and the side seam. Yep. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to drape towards the princess seam. So we're going to have some buckling and puckering. So what I like to do is pin and slash to the pin. And as I'm going, I kind of get rid of this excess stuff down here too. So I pin at the waist, slash to the pin. Move over another inch, pin at the waist, slash to the pin. So it's going to get this kind of fringy effect. Move over, and as you approach that princess line, try to find it. And I'm going to find that princess location, put a pin in there, and slash to that pin, or towards it. I wouldn't go too close, just in case we have to change things around a little bit. I don't want to risk cutting too high. But you'll notice I'm smoothing straight down, but there's blousing happening. It's taut, it's smooth, but there's a gap being bridged between her rib cage and her waist. Let that bridging happen. Okay. Now I'm going to mark this side of the waist. I'm going to dot along the bottom of the waist tape. I'm going to put a T at the princess seam, and that's going to indicate where my dart leg is. Okay. Now I need to find the other side of the dart. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpin this princess